So it has a brew. I actually have some of this stuff. Festive Chai Black Tea from Whittards. It is the fucking shit. It is a little bit expensive. It's like almost £5. But it's really good. I also went and bought some Whittards White Hot Chocolate, which is interesting. Probably my new love affair at the moment. It's insanely nice. However, it's a little bit sickly sweet, so you can't kind of have it that often. I think I tend to find I have to be in the mood for it. But anyway, I wanted to talk about well, the Twitter secrecy thing first is a bit of news, and then we'll move on to kind of some opinions on console and everything else. So, kind of the key bit of news that's kind of, well, I suppose really the only real bit of news that came out this week. Twitter's implementing forward secrecy. So, basically, the way that Twitter encrypts data within its data centers is kind of on a mass scale. So they'll have like a database which will be full of tweets and shit, and they'll just encrypt the whole thing as opposed to encrypting them individually. And so what Twitter's now going to be doing is they're going to be individually encrypting tweets. So every single tweet that you send is going to be encrypted within the data center. Now, this is to stop government snooping, basically. It's basically to allow Twitter to turn around and say, I'm sorry, we can't read the data, because they can. And it's the same with the government. They can't read the data unless they decrypt the data, and nobody's got the decryption keys, not even within the Twitter kind of data center. But obviously that doesn't stop you being snooped on if you're publicly posting to Twitter, and if you're like, and you can, if you can hack HTTPS, which is difficult, then you can still kind of get access to it. So it's good from a data center point of view, because obviously when the government rock up with a warrant, Twitter can give them the raw data, but apart from that, there's nothing they can do in terms of decryption or anything like that. And so that's kind of really good, because it means that the government, it's not necessarily our government, it's more the American government, can then just turn around and say, oh, we want to have access to these tweets. The only real way of, it doesn't stop people having access to your public Twitter profile and searching it and everything like that. But what it does do is, if your profile is private, for instance, or direct messages, for instance, it's actually probably quicker and better and easier for the government to hack your password than it is for or to even use social engineering and hack your password as opposed to going to Twitter directly. However, the ethicality of that and the legality of that is a little bit questionable, but obviously with the US government just basically having the Patriot Act, they can do whatever the fuck they want. And yeah, it's good that Twitter are doing this, but it's bad that Twitter have to do this, because government shouldn't be snooping on its citizens anyway, because we live in a democracy and there are very few bad people around about the world. There's not that many terrorists that are around about. There's another thing I wanted to cover which was quite interesting, and I kind of wanted to glaze over this a little bit. So Logan, I don't know what his last name is, Logan from The Tech, had a lot of, well, not a lot, I think a few people questioning his motives in terms of separating a video, I think it was Rant 30 or something weird, because of monetization and all this other crap. And I kind of wanted to touch on this because it's kind of relevant to me, kind of ish, slightly maybe, and to a certain extent the YouTube community as a whole. So basically the short and long of the story was somebody wrote some comments saying, oh, why are you separating out Rant 30 from The Tech? Because The Tech's their weekly thing. If you haven't watched it, you need to. It is long, like it's about a half an hour to an hour in length, but it's definitely worth watching. It's only like a weekly thing, so it's not too taxing on your time. But yeah, basically they were saying, oh, the only reason you're separating out Rant 30 is to make more money. And that's not really what they were after. They only did it because it means that people can just watch Rant 30 on its own without having to watch the rest of The Tech, because that's kind of what it sounded like, as though that's what people wanted. He touched on entitlement and people thinking they're entitled to free content on the internet. Now, I've always maintained that the stuff that I do it for free. You know, I would happily do it for free, and I kind of do it for free. And I monetize videos because it gives me a little bit back. to spend money on equipment. Admittedly, at the moment, it's not enough to spend any money on equipment. I earn hardly anything really in terms of on YouTube, but I earn some money, and I earn that money for the basis of I'm providing a service to people, and as much as I would do it for free, and I would Creative Commons everything else, equipment isn't cheap. Microphones aren't cheap. Cameras aren't cheap. Video editing software isn't cheap. Actual equipment to edit the stuff on isn't cheap. And so what I'm trying to do is take a bit of money back from that and use it to buy equipment and pay for all the things that I need to use. And I know like a lot of people don't like. I mean, let's move on to something else separately. A lot of people use AdBlock. And it's a free country, it's a free market. You can use AdBlock as much as you want. I'm not going to shout at you or slate you for doing that, because I think that's your right to. If you don't want to see adverts on YouTube, you don't want to see adverts on the internet, that's your right to. But when I look at my analytics for stuff, only about 25%, if that, of views are monetizable views. Now that could be for a number of reasons apart from AdBlock, but most of them I can pretty much guarantee will be AdBlock views. Now I personally don't mind, because I don't necessarily think it's my right to say to my community or the people that watch my videos that you should pay money for it, or that you should have to watch adverts and everything else. However, one of the things that all content creators need is, luckily for me, I do have a job. It pays alright. I'm not going to admit that it pays very well, but it pays alright. And the trouble is, when it comes to this, the stuff that I've got are big spends. They're not cheap. Camera there, 500 quid maybe. Microphone, 100 quid. Tripod, PC, all these other bits and pieces, which I may or may not have had before, but things like the microphone I bought specifically for this. A camera I bought separately for a trip to New York, and then it just so happens to be my now primary device for filming shit on. But things cost money, and I want to upgrade my kit, because obviously it then puts things back into the content that I create is then more professional and everything else, and that's kind of what people want. And so because of that, that's why I monetize views, and that's why I want to make money from YouTube, because I want to buy the equipment, because the equipment isn't cheap, and I can't buy the equipment using my salary, because I've got to live off that and everything else that comes with it. Obviously, I do dip in that for YouTube stuff as well, because you've got to, because I don't earn enough from this to warrant doing that. But at the same time, it's nice when people do give a little bit back, and I'm not going to, this isn't really a plea for you to not, turn off AdBlock, because I think it's your right to if you don't want to. However, if you would like to give back to the community, I would be more than appreciative of that. And that's kind of that. But no, the thing that Logan said was that there's a lot of people that think they're entitled to free content on the internet without having to pay anything, and it's annoying when you're a content creator, and people take the piss sometimes. I provide free advice to people. I create videos and people will email me, and I provide free advice for them. I could easily charge 20, 30, I could pretty much charge £50 an hour or £50 per request in terms of a commercial thing. If I was doing this commercially, if I was doing it in terms of consultancy, I could charge, £1,000 a day. I've charged people a lot of money before, to do IT stuff, and I could start charging people money. I could start charging for every email I get, and things like that. Because a lot of the stuff that people ask me are commercial, they're commercially valuable stuff. People are deploying, routers and stuff like that. People ask me about all sorts of kinds of stuff, and I provide that advice for free because I'm a nice guy, and because I like giving back to the community. But at the same time, it's nice to have a bit of money back, so that I can spend money on the kit and spend money on the channel and develop it more. Because that's the only reason I'm here, is because of you lot, and because I want to move things forwards. So the second part, I guess, of this is the t-shirts that you all asked for, that I sent out as a request and said, who would like a t-shirt? Nobody's bought any. That's fine. I don't mind that. It's just a little bit annoying that I spent some time developing them. So I'm going to release a code, which is down in the description below. You can get free shipping on Spreadshirt stuff if you buy 2 items. So go and check out my shop. I do have a shop, and check it out and have a look. If you don't like any of the designs, that's fine, just let me know and I'll create some more. It's coming up to Christmas, and it would be good if some people bought some shit. I will buy some stuff as well, so I can actually wear it on the channel and so you can see what it's like. I might just create some more t-shirts, because I think the stuff that's on there's kind of a little bit of shit, but The last thing I wanted to discuss, as I was talking to somebody on Twitter yesterday via DMs about about YouTube and content and loads of other stuff, and he was going on about could you talk about the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 and kind of like opinions on it and stuff like that. And I have covered this before, but I kind of thought let's delve into it a bit more in depth. This will be going on this will be a lot longer than I usually do one. Like this will probably be say like half an hour long, this video, but obviously in terms of sales figures, they're pretty much on par with each other. As it currently stands today, the Xbox One is kind of in tatters a little bit. And if you look at the official statistics for social media statistics, the PlayStation 4 has a lot more positive comments. I think it's about 60% positive compared to 40% positive for the Xbox One. I had to think about that then for a minute. My maths is obviously not the greatest. So yeah, like that. In terms of, especially in terms of my timeline, the amount of people that complain about Xbox. I mean, I don't know. Well, that's because they're PlayStation 4 people and they're just complaining about Xbox. I don't know. And there's been lots of talk on Twitter about specific camps of people just pretending that it's broken and they don't actually own it because PlayStation 4 fanboys want to make the Xbox One look shit and Xbox One fanboys want to make the PlayStation 4 look shit. I think it's very sad if that's the case, but I don't think it is necessarily the case. I think the majority of issues are genuine issues, and I think the Xbox One is pretty shit in terms of build quality, at least. DVD drives on them seem to be breaking a lot, and everything else. PlayStation 4 seem to be having little issues. I think there's some problems with PlayStation Network a few days ago or something like that. There's been some problems with it, but in total, it's kind of been good. I have to say, there's been a lot of like console people that I follow on Twitter, both personal friends and just other people I just randomly follow, that have been going on about how good the graphics look on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Which I guess are alright. I mean, as a PC gamer, I just look at it and think, yeah, we've kind of had that for 5-10 years now. Like, since your shitty device came out, we've had that kind of level of graphics. And especially with things like Battlefield 4. I mean, Battlefield 4 is a bit of a mess at the moment because EA's servers are shit and the way they implemented the game has been crap. The single player is okay, I guess, in terms of comparison to Battlefield 3. It's worse than Battlefield 3. In terms of its looks and its aesthetics, it looks fucking amazing because, a single player, that's pretty much all DICE do now with single player games, is they kind of they hone in on what it looks like and, let's just show off the engine. Let's not actually develop a good game story and everything else. And let's develop something that's really short. That's what I don't like about, especially FPSs, Call of Duty, case in point, and Battlefield, including Medal of Honor, including that. I know they finished with Medal of Honor now, but they always include a shitty small storyline that you can take like 4 hours to complete, and it takes no effort whatsoever to complete. And that's what I dislike at the moment. I want something to create a game that's going to, give me at least a week's worth of enjoyment. That's actual, like, if I was off for a week and I sat down for an entire week and that's all I did, that's all I played, that's what I want people to do. I mean, maybe, that's a little bit extreme, but, at least I want 24 hours worth of gameplay. I want to be able to sit down for something and play something every evening for a month, like GTA 5. I mean, perhaps not that great, but that kind of level of stuff. I want the mission to be better, and I want it to progress more. I know games take ages to make. I know it's not hard. I know it's not an easy process, but I just much rather people just create something that lasts a lot longer. But yes, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. So I kind of have to say that the Xbox One, as much as it's broken at the moment, and when Microsoft get shit right, because they no doubt will, they'll increase the hardware. Well, they won't increase the hardware specs. They'll just replace things that are broken, things like the DVD drives, or not necessarily the DVD drives, because I think it could play Blu-rays as well. But the drive that they include with the Xbox One, they'll obviously improve the build quality of that and make it better. I think it's obviously, in terms of pricing, they're both insanely expensive for what they are. Especially as you could build a PC for the same price and it would completely blow both consoles out of the water. So that's kind of a bit shit, because that was one of the things that was always good about the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 even. PlayStation 3 was a little bit more expensive than the Xbox 360, but it had better graphics performance and everything else that came with it. And you didn't have to pay a yearly subscription for Live. But they were still really cheap. I mean, like the Xbox 360 you could pick up, I think the base model was 120, 130 quid, especially like towards the end of the generation, like before the Xbox One came out. They were pretty much giving it away. You could, especially second hand, you could pick up a second hand one for 100 quid, and, that's great. I mean, you can just pick up a console, plug it in, and it just works. And that, that's really good. That's one of the great things about console. You can just pick it up, buy it, plug it in, and it will just work. The downsides, obviously, are the cost of the games are insane. And game costs new are like 40 quid. On the next gen ones, they're 50, 60 quid, and that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't spend any more than 30, 35 quid on a game. I know some games that came out on PC first were going to be 40 quid. I think Call of Duty Ghost, which I refused to buy because of the cost and because I thought it was going to be crap. I will buy it eventually when the price comes right down, maybe to like 25 quid. I might pay for it to see what it's like. But I'm certainly not going to pay 40 quid for a game on PC. I mean, that's just ridiculous. 30 quid for a game is perfectly adequate. You don't need to charge any more than that. And if you charge a little bit less, you're more than likely going to sell more and therefore have increased profits. But anyway, apart from moaning about console, if I had the money today, would I buy either or? I think it's difficult actually now. I mean, I said last week that I would definitely buy the PlayStation 4, but it's difficult now because the Xbox One, after all the PR crap that went on with it and the hardware and all the drama that went on with the Xbox One, I think even after all the privacy concerns, I would still go with an Xbox One currently today, on a Sunday, on the 24th of the 11th, 2013. I would get an Xbox One, simply for the fact that there's voice commands, the media support, that kind of stuff. I mean, the Xbox, from what I would use the Xbox One for, a lot of it would be media related. I would take it home at Christmas, I would plug it in, and I would use it to stream media. I'd use it for Netflix. I would probably use it more as an entertainment system than I would use it for gaming. And that's kind of where the Xbox has kind of geared things towards. It's more of a family entertainment system than just a gaming console. And PlayStation have gone down the route of, we're going to tier it more towards gamers, which is good, but I don't know whether that's necessarily good for their business model. It'll be interesting to see maybe in a year's time where the sales figures go, because I think they're going to be very closely tied. Last time the Xbox completely overtook the PlayStation 3, and it was only until reasonably recently the PlayStation kind of caught up to Microsoft in sales figures. Which is very interesting. I think it's probably because of the costing. I think because of the Microsoft, and also the fact the Xbox had the Kinect and that kind of stuff. Was talking of which, I've still got a Kinect as well. We've still got a Kinect. I'm still got an Xbox 360, which I'm now gathering dust, so I might have to sell them. But I think that's kind of why the Xbox was so popular, because of the cost. I mean, it cost 170 quid, I think, for the Elite model. I think for about a year ago, maybe. I think it might have been a little bit more expensive than that a few more years ago. But it was cheap, and the build quality was all right. And the thing with the PlayStation 4 was, PlayStation Network was kind of shit. I mean, I think it's improved a lot now, but PlayStation Network was always worse than Xbox Live. Speaking to people that have played both systems, they've said that Xbox Live is better. Because I've not played both systems, I've only ever played Xbox Live, and from what I've seen, Xbox Live is good. PlayStation gaming from that, in terms of networking, is a lot better, but we won't go on too much onto that. And so the Xbox had a lot of great price point and everything else, and that's kind of why it was so popular. I think things have changed now because the PlayStation 4 is cheaper, but the Xbox is kind of geared towards more of an all-in-one entertainment system. It'll be interesting to see what happens over Christmas, because obviously that'll be where mummies and daddies with too much money will be spending money on their kids for either a PlayStation or an Xbox. Now, to a greater or lesser extent, the decision they make to buy either or will be down to what the kids kind of want, but sometimes not necessarily. Sometimes it might be down to what the parents and them might consider is good value for money and everything else. Especially if you look at something like the Xbox, because if you're a parent and you're going to buy a kid an Xbox, it's probably going to be in the family front room. Are you going to buy something that's going to be like an all-in-one entertainment system that everybody can use? You know, from mum, dad to, you know, your kids. Or would you just rather just buy a dedicated gaming console that's slightly smaller as well, that, you know, that just the kids can use for everything else? I know PlayStation can be an entertainment system and it can use, you know, Netflix and all these other apps, but it's not. I don't want to say it's not. I don't want to say not necessarily it's not as good. It's just perhaps not tailored so much towards that kind of area. The aesthetics aren't as good. The interface doesn't look as nice. Personally, for me, I prefer the Microsoft kind of Windows 80 kind of style for that kind of stuff. And granted, I mean, you could just buy a PlayStation, you could buy like a Raspberry Pi, and you could use Raspberry MC, but the kind of performance there's a little bit shit. I mean, it's the same. You could buy like a Roku or an Apple TV for 100 quid. You know, the 100 quid saving you would make with the PlayStation 4, you could then buy that. But then you don't have things like voice activation, all the funky little toys that you would get that you would have with the PlayStation, the Xbox 7, not 720, the Xbox One. But yeah, if I had the money to buy a console, I probably wouldn't. But if a gun was pointed to my head and they said you either had to buy a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, I would probably go with an Xbox One now, because simply for the fact of the features. That's really the only thing for me personally. You know, just my own opinion. You don't have to agree with it. But me personally, I would, you know, for what I do, because I game on PC. I've got an Xbox that's gathering dust, and I wouldn't necessarily use any of the features within the PlayStation. Things like streaming, I don't give a shit about. One of the things I'm going to mention about streaming, and it's kind of slightly starting to annoy me now, and I'm going to have to start muting people, or muting links at least, is people streaming via Twitch now from PlayStation, which is damned annoying. Some people that are good, obviously, are doing it, that's fine, but there's some people that really are not very good, and then just cluttering my timeline. As much as I could just ignore them. It's very annoying, and I think a lot of people kind of were saying that that's going to be the norm. There's going to be a lot of 12-year-old kids that aren't very good at Call of Duty. They're now going to be streaming stuff, which, I mean, fine, that's okay, but, I mean, a lot of people were saying that, it's now going to crowd YouTube even more because it's going to be tons of people that are trying to be doing the same stuff. That's kind of why I don't do gameplays and Let's Plays, because loads of people are doing that, and a lot of people have asked me to do Let's Plays, and I'm quite happy to do Let's Plays, but to be honest, I'm not very good. I don't necessarily know what kind of things people need. I don't have the equipment. I need to get a capture card, and capture cards are not cheap. I might do what some people do and just do like a donation link and just have like, if you want to donate to like an Ava Media card that I can buy for you, you know, if everybody, if all my subscribers donated £1, I would have 500 quid and I could buy a decent kit. But I'm not, you know, because I'm not expecting that kind of level of a thing, and I'm not popular enough. And if I did put a donation link, a lot of people would probably just go, I'm not going to donate to you. Why would I do that? Because you're not really special. But yeah, I don't do gameplay and Let's Plays because, I mean, I don't think personally people will necessarily care. I mean, lots of people always request it. There's lots of people that request that kind of stuff, but I don't necessarily know what games to do. I mean, I might do Battlefield 4 single player stuff, because multiplayer, I would do multiplayer stuff, but I'm so shit at that. I just wouldn't. Yeah, like Battlefield 4, for instance. Battlefield 3 I'm crap at. I'm not, not any level of decency. Maybe I'll get like a KD of 1, maybe, if the wind's in the right direction. But the trouble is with PC gaming, it's just full of too many people that are just insanely good, and I don't have the time to hone my skills because I work all day, and then I'm going up against like 16, 17-year-olds that have college 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and then they're off all day, and they have summer holidays, and they can just get the skill level up, and I can't do that, unfortunately. So yeah, I will do. I'm quite happy to do Let's Plays and gameplays. But first of all, I need the equipment. I need to get an Ava Media capture card or a Hopog. Probably more likely an Ava Media capture card because they're a lot better than Hopogs, and they encode things on the fly without you having to have like it plugged into a laptop as well, and they're a lot smaller. But yeah, I that's what I want to get, one of those, but it's having the money to do so. I might put a donation link down below. Well, not in this video, but if people think that's a really good idea, and people want to donate some money towards that'd be great, and then that means I can do more Let's Plays. But I don't want to do that because I'm not, I don't want to be begging for money, because that's not kind of what this is about. So yeah, this has kind of been a very long video, but I kind of want your thoughts on several things about the channel, about what you think in terms of advertising, that kind of stuff. I am looking for sponsorship. I'm looking for a way of, giving you guys, sort of advertising, quote unquote, a product that you would all really love, and that's not going to take up too much of your time, and it's not going to be annoying. And because I want to kind of get rid of the monetization on YouTube, because it's kind of annoying, and because a lot of people just use ad block, and so there's kind of no point to it. I want to kind of get some sort of sponsorship kind of thing, so that then I can, buy equipment to create content that's really good for you guys. That's the only reason, I need money, and that's the only reason I monetize videos, as I discussed earlier. So yeah, this has kind of been a very long thing. I've been in lots of discussions with different people about how to develop the channel, how to move things forwards, and separating things off, perhaps creating more content, creating content that's a little bit separate from what I usually create. Maybe create more than just brew times. I mean, I do try, but recently it's literally all been brew times because I've not had the time to do it. It's currently Sunday, and I know Sundays pretty much a lot of time. The problem I have is that every other weekend I usually go down and see my folks, and so I can't really record anything there unless I go outside, but even then I'm going to have awkward looks from people. And I mean, it's the same in Plymouth. I would go outside and film shit if it wasn't for the fact I was a little bit worried that people will give me weird looks and people will think I'm odd. It's the only real reason why I didn't film outside. I was going to, but I didn't because there was too many people outside, and I was kind of a little bit scared about what people might think. Which is the other reason. I was going to wear a onesie today in this video, but I still need to go to the shop, so I didn't bother with that. And also, I was like, I don't know whether anybody would like that kind of shit. But yes, that's pretty much it. Leave a comment down below. Send me an email. At me on Twitter. Buy a mother trucking T-shirt, so that I know that you guys actually, because you requested it. It'd be nice if you actually bought it. And if you're not buying them, let me know why, because then I can create some better content. And if you're a graphic designer, hit me up. I'll pay you some money for you to get some decent stuff made. Like a proper graphic designer, not one of these kids that are just doing it for fun. A proper graphic designer that's got some good showcase of work. And yeah. So apart from that, I shall catch you in a later video.